Hello, Noreen, and welcome.
Hi, Anya. How are you?
Pretty fine. Thanks for coming and joining us today. Hello, Sercan. Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So I'm gonna make a small introduction to everyone who is listening us here, and just gonna tell some key points about what we are going to talk today about, and at the same time how this is gonna work. So first of all, hello everyone, and welcome to our event. This is one of many events that Clarusway, let's say, organizes every week or once in 2 weeks. Today here we are with Noreen and Sercan. So guys, I don't want to make a long introduction of yourselves. I just going to say that Noreen is a talent development consultant and Sercan works for Amazon Web Services. He is a cloud support engineer there, right? Am I making
Yes, correct.
Okay, so I will leave the stage to yourself. Can you please make a short introduction of yourselves? And then I'm going to explain some more things before we start our event. So Noreen, do you want to start with a short introduction?
Sure. I'm Noreen Walzak, and I am an executive recruiter, career coach, and talent development consultant. And my passion is helping people find their dream jobs. So I'm excited to be here and to answer any questions anybody has.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Sercan, can you also make a short one?
Sure. Thank you for being here as well. My name is Sercan. I work for AWS for almost a little after a year, and I'm an alumni from the Clarusway, and happy to be here. My role is at AWS is cloud support engineer, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Okay, thank you both for the introduction. Now, I just want to say something. Our topic today is about, like the recruitment process, the finding a job, all those sort of things. At the same time, we're going to talk about AWS. So, there will be question for both topics, let's say. And at the same time, beside my questions, I just really want to emphasize that the important questions are the ones coming from you guys. So, if anyone has any questions, you have the question and answers part there. You can type it, or you can even raise hand and ask any kind of questions. We'll try to answer to any questions that you may have here, or also on YouTube if you are watching our YouTube live stream. Yeah, so this is what I just wanted to say firstly. So, Noreen, I actually want to start with our first question, because when we talk about finding a job, right, what is the first thing that comes to mind? It's like, create a resume, right? You need that CV. So if you can give us some tips about what are the most important elements to consider when you create a resume that stands out, that is different from the others.
Absolutely. Yeah. So exactly. Every time somebody decides to go on a new job search, they are always just going right to the resume. There's actually a lot of work that goes into writing the resume. And if you take the time to think about what you've actually done and walk through each experience you have, as it relates to what you want to do next, it could be really helpful. So it's about making yourself stand out. And the resume at this point is really a keyword document for databases and an outline for your story. So if you spend time up front, really understanding what you're looking to do next, like a lot of Clarusway students, they've made the decision to go into DevOps. So why are they going into DevOps? What have they done in the past that actually relates to what they want to do now? And how can they share that using keywords that relate to DevOps in their resume? So there's a lot of tips on how to go about doing that, but I would definitely say that spending some time thinking about the skills that you have from your past jobs that you might not really realize apply to this next role can be very helpful to your story for interviewing, as well as to optimizing your resume and showing that you've actually been doing what you want to be doing next before, but now with new tools.
Okay, thank you very much. And Sercan, I also want to know something, because you started working for like AWS 1 year ago, right? And
Yes,
so you
correct.
went through this process, right? You had to create your CV, you had to update it. So how was this process like? Do you think that your CV was one that standed out, or what is something that you think that you really helped you with that? If you have a story like that, of course. If you
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah, of course, we went through the story like this, and especially people who have no background in IT, such as myself and most of the people who come to Clarusway to change their career. So it's really hard to narrow your resume down because you don't have a lot of experiences. On top of it, you have another experiences that is not related to IT at all. So you are really in the point of, should I add these experiences into my resume or not add them at all, so that was the most important part for me, and that's where I was like troubling. And so I just added a few of them, and then if there was a gap, I just filled them up with educations, as if I'm coming to Clarusway, there is an also experience for me, so that's a plus for job seekers. So at that point, I got a lot of recommendations from the Clarusway CMS instructors, so they helped me a lot to build that resume up. And at the end of it, I'm not sure it was the perfect resume, but it worked for me.
Wow, I mean, perfect, I don't know, but definitely it worked, right? You find it.
Exactly.
Good job. Okay, so Sercan, I want to ask this question to you because,
Sure.
as I mentioned, is like you had quite a recent experience. So you probably changed your career, right? Like, what were you doing before having this job?
So before AWS and before going to Clarusway, I was an Uber driver. So I came to United States on 2016, and until last year, I used to be a server, bartender, and Uber driver mostly. And then I got tired of doing them because I wasn't spending enough time with my family on top of it, plus with myself. So I wasn't really happy, and I heard a lot of about these boot camps, and I researched, and then my path came across with the Clarusway, then decided to sign up. So yeah, and then my career started there, and then still going forward. But I'm happy at the moment, so I wish I've started before.
Yeah, but like that. So the thing is, like, because we have the perfect example here of, let's call it IT dream, American dream. So
Right.
the question is about someone who is looking to change careers, but in competitive job market. So I mean, everyone is talking about switching to IT nowadays, but it's not that. The first thing is quite difficult. First, like, no one can say this is an easy thing to do, an easy something to
Definitely.
learn. And at the same time, you have a very competitive job market, so there are a lot of people who are competing. So what kind of advice would you give to these people?
So my recommendation would be just skill up your skills and ramp up, because you need to get ahead of a lot of candidates. Right now, the most difficult part, there are people like us, like with no background. On top of it, there are people with experiences because of the layoffs happened like a few months ago in the beginning of this year. So that's why it's really challenging. It's not only us at the moment. There are also other people that I know that they got laid off and they have really good experiences. You know what I mean? At like senior level. So when I signed up for when I was graduated from Clarusway, market wasn't this difficult. I guess economy was a little better, but right now all the companies are getting the excuse for uncertain economy, and they are laying people off. But I don't think it's going to be like this all the time. So if you don't give up, you will get your job at some point. That's what I believe. That's what I would have done.
Okay, thank you. Noreen, I really have a question that is about you, so, which is about mistakes. Like, a lot of people make mistakes when they're seeking, when they're looking for a job. So it's like sometimes, yeah, you can say that I've got a misfortune. No one is replying back to me, or you can say, okay, economy is bad, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of people make a lot of mistakes when looking for a job. So what are some of the main mistakes that you come across, or that you came across, that people do when looking for jobs? Like this, what kind of mistake job seekers usually make, let's say?
I would say the biggest mistake is just applying to jobs and not leveraging your network, thinking that you can, submit a resume or do an easy apply or apply to 500 jobs on LinkedIn, easy apply, and that you should get a job. Because of the way technology is and the matching with the databases and the keyword searches, it's a lot tougher now, and it's a lot easier to apply, right? So there's a lot more applicants, but most of them are not qualified, and the companies are getting drowning in applicants, but you might be the perfect candidate. You have to figure out a way to stand out. So that's the key, is realizing that it's not the same as it used to be, really trying to make sure that you understand how you can add value to a company, and being clear on that and targeting those types of companies that are looking for what you're offering. I think that the biggest issue is ignoring the network.
Okay.
And just applying to jobs.
Yeah, I've got a story like that. One day I got a notification from LinkedIn telling me about it when I was looking for a job eventually, not now that I have one. And I was about to graduate from Clarusway, and the notification was, you are in top 10 of the applicants if you apply for this job, something like that. And I get to the job and I can see that easy apply button there, and the number of the applicants was, if I'm not mistaken, it was more than 2,000 people. So yeah, I was in top 10, but there were like 200 people that also were supposed to be in top 10. And yeah, that is kind of the thing with the easy apply and applying from different platforms, right? However, applying from LinkedIn worked for me, but not the easy apply, of course. Yeah, but for me it worked with other job, of course, not with that one. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
LinkedIn works, but I think you can get a job faster if you leverage your network or work on, speaking to people. I always say you can't get a job from just applying. You have to talk to somebody. You can get a job from talking to somebody. So it's about focusing on the number of conversations you can have versus the number of applications you can submit.
Definitely. So since we came to that part, I just want to ask you, because you said network is important. Yeah, we all know that. And we know that we should have a strong network, but how can we reach that? How can we, what would be some advice that you would give to people about building and maintaining a strong professional network? Because, just adding people is not a network, right? So you need to add the right people. So how can we do that?
So a lot of people are really, really stressed out about reaching out to people, right? Like, I don't want to reach out to somebody. I don't really know them. Why would they want me to connect with them? So my saying is ground yourself in you and be curious. So if you're really excited about DevOps, if you're excited about learning new tools, if you're excited about a specific company or a particular role that you saw, then understand why you're excited, and then reach out to people at that company and share your excitement. Hey, so-and-so, I'm really excited about what you're doing at Amazon in the DevOps department. I'm wondering if you would have a few minutes to chat. Like, you're not asking them for a job. If you ask somebody for something and they don't know you, it's a lot less likely they're going to help you, but they probably would be pretty excited to talk about themselves or to share their experiences, because then they feel like they're, being put as an expert in a specific area. So it's easier to build those relationships, to stand out, to have those types of conversations. And maybe they don't have a job right now, but that's an initial part of a relationship, and you can build your network in that way. And if you're looking to build it, beyond your next role, then you're now building a target market of people that care about what you care about. And so your post will be able to be read, and people may comment, and that will continue your relationships online.
Yeah, it kind of helped me too. I mean, at least with creating a stronger network when I used to post before getting the job, of course, I used to post much more often. Now I don't really do that, but yeah, that thing definitely helps, posting and getting in contact with people, maybe commenting on different posts that are related to what you do, what you're interested in. That's how algorithms in general work. So Sercan, I also want to come to you and ask you about how was your process, because I'm also, I started at Clarusway. I was a student, so I was a full stack student. And I remember from the very beginning, they emphasized the importance of, let's say, creating this strong network. And they said it takes time, right? You can't just add people. You can't just have this strong network in 1 week. So how was your path? What did you do?
So for me, I really took attention on the LinkedIn part. Like I was always adding people until I reach out to 500 plus. Excuse me. So because based on their experience, people's experience, they were just saying to fight the algorithm, you at least need the 500 plus network connections. So then you can just be more selective, So I just added in the field whoever I find and just type DevOps engineers, and I looked for DevOps engineers in my area, narrow it down, and that's just started adding them. And after I reach out to my goal, I just try to look who is posting more, who, if I should remove anybody from my network or if I should add more to my network. So with people who post the most, I was adding them immediately, especially if it's related to my field. So that's where I was really paying attention. And also if I get a message from somebody, I just reply them. As you were mentioning, it's really important not to be scared or not to be shy if you want to send a message to someone, because I got a messages from even if somebody wants to start up with Clarusway, they were just saying, how was your experience and would you recommend? So even with this, he stepped up and made a connection with me. So it's really important to build that connection to fight the algorithm as well, and for yourself. I mean, don't feel free to pick anybody you find they might answer your question. You might ask them what are the challenges working on that company, in X company, or what are the challenges on the interview process. They are not going to tell you the exact interview questions, but they might say, hey, study on this part the most because this is really important, things like this. So they are really important.
Okay, thank you very much. So now we've got a question from, sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name, Kylie, I believe. Noreen, can you see the question, or do you want me to read? It's on the question and answers part. There should be a message there. Can you read that?
Yes, I can see it. Okay.
Okay. So can
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah,
everybody.
You can then answer.
All right. Considering the ever-increasing importance of soft skills in the workplace, could you share insights on which soft skills are particularly valued for employers today, and how can job seekers work on developing these skills to enhance their career prospects? That's a great question. So you're right. It is a big focus in hiring practices now, and it's very hard to communicate behavioral skills until you actually get the interview. So that is why I keep going back to, making sure you understand your skills and your story, because when you get to the interview, you're going to need to be able to tell your story, and through your story, you're going to be communicating your behavioral skills. Okay. So what I mean by that is, your question was that what are they looking for and how can you enhance that? Companies are looking for, you can tell through their missions or their visions or their statements on their websites or their culture, different types of things. Some startups, maybe they want somebody who can work in a fast-paced environment, who can work a lot. Maybe they're looking for a leader, maybe they're looking for a manager, maybe they're looking for somebody who's good at communicating, those types of soft skills. And so the way that you do that is you do it in everything you do. I mean, you actually probably have experience with most behavioral questions. It's how do you show them that you have had that experience? So, for example, if you worked in a restaurant and you became the head waiter and you managed the staff of waiters, right? That is a management behavioral skill. So in your interview, you would talk about, I know that I transitioned from, being a waiter to DevOps. However, I'd like to share a story about a time where, I had to manage a conflict with one of the waiters that I was managing at the restaurant. And then you tell your story, you describe what happened. And through that will show your management style. You can say, the person was very upset. So we went in the back and I helped them calm down. And, we talked about what the situation was and we came up with the solution. And so that process that you went through to manage that relationship with the employee that you were managing is a description of how you manage people. So really thinking about that, and you can tell a lot of times in a job description what the behaviors are that they're looking for. They'll ask. So in preparation for an interview and even in preparing for like a strategic job search and your resume, you want to go bullet by bullet through the job description and think, what scenario would I describe that shows the interviewer that I have the experience that they're looking for? So if they're looking for leadership or working well with teams or working directly with clients, you want to come up with that example you have, whether it be through your education, through a prior role, through your most recent role with a project that you worked on at Clarusway, and then walk through the steps of how you went about doing whatever that scenario was. That is how you show the interviewer that you actually know what you're talking about. And it also is what emulates your behaviors to the interviewer. Did that answer your question?
Well, I believe we'll see the answer. They're going to type the answer. I mean, if it was me, I would say definitely yes. So we'll see what Kylie will say. Actually, my next question also would be about the soft skills. However, I'm going to jump to the next one though, because we already had that one asked, and I want to talk about social media now.
I'm sorry. Can I just bring one other thing up? There's a tip so Amazon has a list of their behavioral skills that they look for interviews, and you can search it online. But if you wanted to be prepared for behavioral interviews, another resource would be to look at that list and come up with stories that you would tell related to that list of behaviors. Because I think there's like 20 or 23 or something like that. And that would answer the question of the many different types of behaviors everybody's looking for. I apologize. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. No, that was nice to share. Actually, I got curious myself. I think I'm going to check it after the let's say our event. So as I mentioned, I just wanted to jump to the next topic, which is about social media. So when we talk about finding a job, the first thing that comes to mind is LinkedIn. Right from there, because I don't know if I can consider it a social media. Let's say platform. However, about the other social media, let's say platforms that we use every day, Instagram, I don't know, like Facebook, Twitter, or X, whatever people call it now. It keeps changing its name. Or if you are in China, I don't know, you use WeChat or whatever social media, let's say platform. So can they actively be used to find a job, or like, maybe we can go a bit more specific and say that if you're looking for a job, like Twitter would be a better option than just looking through Instagram or TikTok. So what kind of advice could you give on this topic about social media usage?
So as it relates to social media, I would say that everyone who's looking for a job should basically think of themselves as an influencer, think of themselves as an expert in the skills that they have, and use social media to communicate their knowledge. So however the social media is set up, whether it be Twitter with a short tweet, or whether it be, Instagram with a funny picture, or, TikTok with a video, you can walk people through, a project that you completed, or you could write a blog and share, an experience that you had, all related to the career that you're looking to go into, or that you're pursuing, and share the knowledge that you have. And people will then be able to see that, you have those skills. You can also use like Facebook to your group, your communities. You can join different groups on LinkedIn, Facebook, and the other social media sites to interact with those users, answer those questions, show your knowledge, potentially see if, they might post that there are jobs open. Slack is another one that's really good. You can join Slack communities and meetup groups, and just to get yourself out there and to meet other people that have similar interests.
Well, can we say whoever is on Facebook or TikTok already on LinkedIn? So I don't. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but can we say they are not the most important things, like other social?
I would agree. Yeah.
Media platforms, because like if you are perfect on LinkedIn, I don't think others are going to be really important to you and going to help you to find a job. You know what I mean?
I agree. I mean, as a recruiter, I live on LinkedIn. I mean, that's the only place I ever am. Yeah. So if you want to be found, that's where I'd find you.
Yeah, actually, though, but I think the other social media accounts would work a bit more with kind of small projects, or maybe if you're trying to do freelancing. But yeah, if it is about finding a job with a decent company, with a good company, yeah, go with LinkedIn.
I mean, there are engineers, they post good stuff on Twitter about the new technologies. So there is a good platform, but yeah, definitely LinkedIn is the most important one.
And Reddit too, right? Reddit is a really nice community. I mean,
Reddit.
I remember getting I got a kind of offer by someone that I don't know on my Reddit account. I changed it every 5 or 6 months. Open a new one, and I got this offer only because I had like kind of programming name in front of me, like it was my, let's say, my account name. And at the same time, the guy learned that I was from Albania from my comments, so they wanted someone from the country to do that. I did not accept because it was like too complicated for me eventually. Now, Sercan, I want to ask a question about these staying motivated, during the period of job applications. However, my first question is: did you have to wait for a long time? Either way, the way it wouldn't make any sense. So, did you have to try a lot and apply for a long time, or you got your job kind of easily?
For me, I was one of the lucky guys, and I got the job on my first interview. Even before ending the course. So I literally was making my resume ready. At the same time, our projects in school was still going on, so I had to prepare for that. But I got a message in LinkedIn from the AWS recruiter that if I wanted to take the interview. So I didn't specifically apply for the job. Actually, LinkedIn helped me to get that job. So they pinged me, and I said, sure, I'm happy to apply. And at that time, I'm thinking that's not a real AWS recruiter, and then I learned that is actually an AWS recruiter. So excitement started at that point. And then I applied, and then I went through the interview process.
Your experience was pretty smooth. I mean,
my experience. Yeah, I didn't have the great I didn't have the great experience or worst experience while applying for the job, because I heard after I found the job, I heard people were still trying to find a job about 6 months or 1 year. But that really depends on you and your skills. Yes, market is challenging, but at the same time, are you like learning from your mistakes? Are you recording your interviews and then listen them just yourself? Don't publish with anyone. Just learn, see your mistakes and correct them next time you get that question. Get it right. So that's the most important part for me. But I started recording from the first interview, so I was gonna learn whichever I've done wrong. So it wasn't gonna repeat on the same on the next time.
You probably
So that's a good practice.
Yeah. So Noreen, I will ask this question to you, Sam, because we don't really have a good example for that question. I kind of, for myself, it was kind of not very challenging experience too. I don't remember the time, but it was about like 1 or 2 months after finishing the course. However, I started applying before that, and it was so annoying seeing those emails with the word "unfortunately," right? Unfortunately, you're pretty good, but as you know, those emails go. However, Noreen, so let's say that there's someone who gets rejected or who gets those kind of let's say unfortunately emails. So how can you stay motivated for a long time? Because we're talking about 6 months, 9 months, 1 year. It may depend. So what is something to do to stay motivated?
So number one, a lot of the rejections that you'll receive will come from an automation from the databases that the companies are using. So I would say really try to remind yourself that a person may not even have looked at your resume when you get a rejection. Okay. So to me, I would say, like, if you didn't talk to somebody, it doesn't count, right? Like, I've had people through networking who have reached out to a hiring manager and at the same time applied and gotten rejected by the system, but ended up getting the job because they were in touch with the hiring manager. So that's the first thing. As far as if you've been through an interview and you don't get the job, then yes, as Sercan was saying, really thinking about how that conversation went and what you can do better next time. In order to address like imposter syndrome, or if you get nervous on interviews, that's the ground yourself in you. So you are all your innate skills, your learned skills, and your passions combined. That's how you can add value. And if you think about everything that you've done and everything that you can do related to this job that you're talking about, and you can describe each situation and the accomplishments that you have, you're sharing everything you can do for that company. Like, that's your best job. That's how that's how you can help them. If they don't feel like you're a fit after that, then there's not much you can do about that. But making sure that you're sharing all of the stories and all of the accomplishments and all of the skills that you have related to what they're looking for is can help with that process. And the rejection piece won't feel so bad if you actually feel like you're acing the interview. If you feel like, and more than likely you won't get too many rejections if you're able to communicate how you can add value.
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much. So there are like questions from the audience, like some really good one. The first one has been answered by Tiger, but I also want to read it out loudly because I think the question is really, really interesting. So the question is from Yogi Sheep. Sorry again if I'm mispronouncing names. For someone who was self-employed in business for a very long time, and we have a lot of people who are freelancers, and then they decide, okay, I need a stable job. How would you create a resume and LinkedIn page, transitioning and finding a job in cloud or DevOps? I think, Sercan, you can answer this question if you wish. I mean, any advice that you could give?
So that really depends on the business, but try to grab the values that are important while you are doing that business. So for me, I was a I was working at a restaurant, or I was an Uber driver. Let's say Uber driver, because it was a self-employed. So to grab the most important values that I can use in my next career, soft skills, because there's no technical skills unless driving car is counted as technical skill. So for example, customer experience skill. So you can grab that value from just driving passengers, because you are communicating with customer, so you are still providing a service. So if you ever face the challenge, grab that important stuff that you have done while you are facing that challenge and use it as a value for your resume. But listing that, so I understand there's going to be a gap between, because if you are doing your self business for a long time and you don't want to put that experience in your resume, I'm not really sure how can that work. But if Noreen has a better answer, I would happy to take that and deliver it to her.
Yeah, I just want to, sorry for interrupting, because I just want to add something to the question for you. Probably had a lot. I'm assuming that you know a lot of stories where people are coming from like this self-employed or freelance, let's say, background to to trying to work for a company. So Noreen, is it difficult for these people to work in group? Because most of freelancer or self-employed people are used to working alone. So how difficult is for them to get used to that working culture, working with other people and cooperating?
Well, I guess that depends on the person. I would say that self-employed people have to do everything. Okay. So like, rather than going into a company and doing one job, you are responsible for finance and operations and marketing. And like, depending on what your role is, you're managing everything, technology. So own that, like, pay, I have somebody who I worked with that built an entire restaurant. That was his self-employment, but then transitioned into a data science. And, he had to run promotions and get people to come in. It's like, those are skills. Those are marketing skills. So maybe you didn't use, your coding skills to do the marketing, but you did the marketing without. So now you can do it better. But as far as transitioning into a role with having been self-employed, I would own what you've done. I think it's very important to not dismiss it, because you have learned more than likely a lot from whatever you were doing, and those skills are needed, and they're what set you apart. And in terms of working with teams, you had to have clients. So, you're literally a consultant to a client if you're self-employed, and you have to be able to be a people pleaser, at least enough to make money, right? So, I don't think I don't think there should be an issue of people working with teams, but I think that that's a personality thing. And that's something that people can think about in approaching getting a job in general. Do you want to be client facing? Do you want to work with a team? Would you prefer to work on your own? How is that? What's important to you, and how do you think you work best?
All right, thank you for your answer. Now we've got two more questions from the audience. I really love when there are questions from there, because I don't have to read my own, and usually those questions are a bit more interesting than mine. By the way, yeah, Yogish said thank you. Yeah, thank you for your questions too. Now we have two more questions. The first one is by Mose. I believe this question is more suitable for you, Noreen, and the second question is for Sercan, because it has been stated that it's for him. So can you read the first question, please, Noreen?
Sure. Yeah. So companies tend to choose more experienced applicants, even for entry-level positions. How can an applicant with no or very little experience succeed in landing a job? Okay. So they may tend to choose more experienced applicants, but typically more experienced applicants are looking for more money. And so I think it depends on the company and the role. You know, if the team is a larger team, they may be able to bring on somebody with less experience because they have other people that can mentor and help them. So maybe a bigger company could be good in that sense. If they're smaller, they might want, you know, they're trying to get every company's trying to get as much experience as possible for as little money. I mean, that's how it's working. But you know, you could be more motivated than somebody. I mean, you know, if you're reaching out to people, if you reached out to the head of, you know, the DevOps team and you told them this was a dream team for you to work on, you know, maybe they like you, you know, setting yourself apart, showing that you're motivated. Maybe you did a really cool project that you want to walk through and you can show them that you actually have the experience. And so they're willing to take a bet on you. But I think to beat out applicants with more experience, it's going to come down to your behavioral and your personality and your belief in yourself and your ability to make those connections with the interviewer when you're telling your story and answering their questions.
Yeah, and I would also like to add something. The thing that when you don't have experience, always talking about IT related jobs, right? Is your GitHub profile, most of them, and your project. So yeah, you don't have a job experience and you don't have an experience to show to people, right? Because you just left your bootcamp. But if you have some really nice projects, I'm not talking about to-do apps, you know, when people usually do, but like some really special projects that you can show to people and are able to, you know, explain this kind of projects, right? You should be able to explain them. Then that will definitely help because projects are kind of experience. The projects show that you really know how to do the job because, you know, the companies do not want to experience. It's like, it's not that easy to hire someone and after 2 months say, oh, it was not the right candidate, right? It's like, it's kind of gambling. So, but when you have this project, then it's, you know, it's a bit less risky for the recruiters, I would say. At least that would be my approach to that kind of problem.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree. And I think the big thing that you want to focus on when you're doing your projects is understanding the actual business reason that you're doing the project. Like, how would this affect a company? And how did you go about helping a company? So that's the big difference between school and work, right? Is like when you're working, you're dealing with a specific problem with a company that has an issue and you're trying to solve it. So think about that when you're doing your school related projects and think about how you helped the company and maybe even went above and beyond to solve the problem that you're working on and try to communicate that way. That will definitely help the companies to understand that you know what you're doing, even though you haven't had as much experience.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much. Sercan, so the next question is, it has been, you know, specified that is for you. And can you please read it loudly and answer to that question?
So question is, could you please explain how cultural fit is defined at Amazon and what advice do you have for job seekers looking to determine if they align with the company's culture and values? So that's a great question. Thank you, Kyle. So Amazon culture is great. So since I've been hired, I'm really happy with the job and I can see the clear expectations from me and clear expectations from the company from my side, you know. So Amazon has leadership principle, which Noreen was talking about. Like there's a which actually talks about the soft skills, you know, and that's Amazon culture. For example, one of the culture is putting the customer in the center of the company as customer obsession. You need to be customer obsessed if you want to work with at Amazon. So if you don't really care about the customer, you're not gonna align with the company, because that's really important. So for example, for me, it was a plus to work at a restaurant because I was working with customers already and my customer experience skills aligned with that. You know what I mean? So that was one of the most important thing for me. But other than that, even to take the interview, we have a leadership principle, which we call bias for action. So, for example, your resume might look great, right? You might graduated. You might have graduated from Harvard University, and we believe in that. It shouldn't affect us. We shouldn't take any bias. We shouldn't think that you are a great candidate because you went to Harvard University. You know what I mean? So they want us to take the interviews with this point. Otherwise, if I have a bias, I might make the wrong decision by just hiring you. You know what I mean? Inside of the Amazon, you're never gonna feel excluded from your team, or they are always giving the values to you. So, and you need to be able to work with multiple teams, as more specifically AWS is serving the customers. Whichever role you're working in is really, it really doesn't matter. All of the roles, you are going to work with customers, so you are going to work with multiple teams and multiple people. It's not just going to be you by yourself. Especially in this IT industry is like this. So teamwork is good. One of the good cultures that I can say is in the Amazon. Other than that, I cannot say anything negatively, or everything is positive on my side. Yeah,
You would inspire, yeah.
yeah, I'm really happy to say that. So yeah, you need to look at the leadership principles if you want to work at Amazon. They will tell you if you are the right candidate for them, or for you as well. If you because otherwise, if you don't meet, you don't need to. By the way, you don't need to meet with all of them, but you need to meet at least, I don't know, 30% of them for your personality. It doesn't have to be with the technical part. I'm talking about like soft skills. You need to and this is specifically for Amazon, because the questions was specifically for Amazon. So they really care about leadership principles, and they're actually using that. Is not only in the paper, they're actually using that on the while you are working in the inside of the company. So don't think just they are the piece of knowledge on the paper.
But so would you say that you would share, like if you were in an interview and you were focusing on those key principles, would sharing stories about how you actually made decisions or choices, or that were a bias for action, or that were customer obsessed, would be a good way to show them that you have those skills they're looking for?
Exactly. So scenarios are the important stuff, because basically what we will ask you on the interview, scenarios in your recent experiences. It doesn't have to be related to the job unless it's a like very experienced job, senior level. But you will still get that behavioral questions based on leadership principles. We will ask you, tell me about a time you had to deal with the most difficult situation in your life. How did you handle it? And you need to come up with the scenario and put it in a STAR method while answering. Which was
that's a big one with Amazon,
yeah, exactly,
the STAR
because
method.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's also really good. The STAR method, if you look it up, it's if you the system that they use to answer the questions is actually very aligned with technology, I think.
Exactly.
And how you go about approaching solving a technical problem. And so I think if you can really think about those scenarios again, put them into the STAR method for any interview, you're going to do really well, and especially obviously at Amazon.
Exactly.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask one more question, because we've been talking about how difficult it can be, like how to cope with this rejection and things like that. So I want to ask you about something really positive, Noreen, about a success story that you had. Like, do you have any memorable success story of someone that you have hired during your career in recruitment, and it has been an absolute success? I mean, we don't have to mention names or companies, but we could go with an example like that.
I have a lot of examples. I'm trying to think of one to walk through. My favorite examples are people who have transitioned from backgrounds that are completely different from what they are going into, how they really spent time understanding what they were able to bring to the role in addition to their new skills, and then how they reposition themselves and get the job. So I had a client who had a degree, a master's in chemistry, I think, and used to work in like a chemistry lab, and then was going into data science, and definitely did not want to do anything related to science, right? I don't like science. I didn't like it. I didn't like being in the labs, but there was a reason that he got a master's degree in it. So we spent some time like, well, what did you like about it? What are you interested in? And we found a connection, a link between more the statistical side. He liked the statistical side, and that was related to data and analytics, but he did like doing the mixing and the concocting in the chemistry lab. So we actually we targeted food and beverage companies, and we targeted a brewery where they were just bringing in new data analysts to analyze the brewery process, and he reached out to people and connected with all the people on the brewery team on LinkedIn and asked if they could speak, and he got his first conversation, and they really liked him, and they ended up flying him out to the company because he wasn't even located near there, and he ended up getting the job. So that was really cool. I think people it's amazing what you are doing. If you're going to Clarusway, if you're going to a boot camp, you're deciding that you want to better yourself, so show people how amazing you are. It's awesome that you learn the skills. Don't focus on all the things that you don't know. You know a lot of things. When you graduate from Clarusway, you take a bunch of certifications. You have a lot of skills and projects under your belt. Focus on what you do know and don't worry about what you don't know. The biggest thing that can stop you in a job search is if you stop yourself by saying, I don't know enough, or I don't know this, or I can't apply here. You're your biggest promoter. So make sure you know what you're good at and talk to people about it, and you'll be able to get a job.
Basically, don't scare to be applied. Don't scare to take the interviews, because interviews are great ways to learn from your mistakes.
So John, since we are talking about transition and we are coming to the end of our event, I just want to ask, because I'm pretty sure that a lot of people here are interested about cloud computing. So the first thing is, what would be your advice? Because as Noreen said, people want to change careers and they get to IT, but the best way to, let's say, support those people is by giving some advice from people who had a very similar path. So first of all, what would be your advice to people who want to change their careers and get to the cloud computing, AWS? And at the same time, I would like to ask you, what would be the, let's say, the benefits of doing this through, let's say, a boot camp? I'm not saying only Clarusway though. People can do their own research and they decide what they do. It can be a degree, it can be a boot camp. So I think a boot camp is much faster and less costly way to get into the IT rather than a degree of 4 years and thousands of dollars, at least for US as far as I know. So can you just briefly
Sure.
This part?
Definitely. So I will start with the benefits of bootcamp, and I will also say this: you don't 100% need the bootcamp. If you are good at self-studying, for example, there are topics, and there are a lot of educational videos, tools that are free or paid for. You can take them, which is good, but benefit of going to bootcamp, you are not alone. There are a lot of people like you around you doing the same thing over and over, because if you are stuck while you are self-learning, you might not get the right answer and you might be frustrated. So at that point, you might just give up. But when you go into boot camp, there's another person aside you and supporting you, when you are stuck, and helping you to learn as well, because they are also learning. So that's I think, like, most important benefit of going to the boot camp. Otherwise, I think, for at least for myself, I would have maybe given up if I didn't go to the boot camp. And another thing, you have experienced instructors that you can ask questions about market, about the cloud computing, any questions you have, because they're experienced and they have the cloud computing experience. Because you might get some technical issues that they just can resolve in 2 seconds, while it might take you 10 days to resolve. So those are yeah so those are good things about bootcamp. And plus, I don't know, like, going to school and discipline will give you much better way to learn stuff. So that's all I can say about the bootcamp. But about the cloud computing, if you wanna go to cloud computing at this point, since I'm working with the customers, I see a lot of customers are getting challenging with the containers technology. We have a team that is specifically for containers team, which they support AWS customers with their issues with containers. So we have a big volume there. That's like one of the biggest team that has the most volume. I am in the IAC team, which is infrastructure as a code. I work mostly with the CloudFormation, but we also have a team which works with Kubernetes, EKS, ECS, those services. And those services, they have the demand. There I can see that there's a high demand with the containers technology at the moment. And I think there's a gap in the market with the candidates. So if you want to focus on, if you're trying to change your career, and I would say focus on the container technology and see the benefits of it, and try to learn as much as you can, because market is gonna need that anyway, because there's a high demand at this.
I'm gonna tell that to my wife, because she did AWS and DevOps too. She's a student now.
Yeah, so
So yeah, I'm gonna tell it.
AWS and DevOps is a great path. Like, it's not only I went to this path, because I don't know about the other paths, but based on my experience about cloud computing, I can say containers technology is going to demand is going high. And even though his market might be challenging right now, but as we know, it's not going to be always like this, and it's gonna get better. So just at this point, if you are getting challenges, just take this time to learn, and not just forget about what you learned in the course, because you might have already graduated and give up in the second month, and then forget about all of the things, and then you just wasted 9 months. But after 6 months later, you might say, oh, I wish I just kept studying during this time, because the market is in a great position right now to get a job. And by that time, you will start remembering your skills, refreshing your memory. Everybody's going to be applying for jobs, and then once you're ready, you might not get a job. So time is really important, and just ramp up your skills. That's the most important part. And if you are not going to the bootcamp at the moment, again, it's not necessarily like I'm not advertising. It's just a really good place to learn stuff, and helping you and working as a team. Because when you get a job, you will kind of have the same environment, working with multiple teams, multiple people. So you are actually getting a similar experience while going to the bootcamp.
Yeah, well, my way of deciding if someone it's like needs a boot camp or no, or if they are good with self-studying is the way of how organized you are. For example, I'm not a really organized person, so I don't think I could definitely go with self-studying, for a long time. But some people are really good with, being organized with the timing. Maybe they do not need, but yeah, boot camps in general are pretty good online or on campus. Like if people do their own research, because there are lots of boot camps that may not give what you are looking for. And the second thing with the DevOps, and the AWS path, what I've seen from my experience by having those events, because I've done a lot of success stories, it's like, yeah, people who study, or let's say who are graduated from DevOps and AWS path usually get better jobs, better paid jobs, and more quickly than other paths. That doesn't mean that other people do not get, but yeah, there's something with DevOps and AWS now for sure. Now, there's one last question. I think this is the last question that we can get, and
I think that's also for me.
Yeah, it is also for you. It's like a pretty short one.
Yeah. Should we focus on AWS when looking for DevOps jobs? Because my experience in the tech stack is with AWS more than Azure. Leo is asking, and so this really doesn't matter, because you might have experience with AWS, but learning Azure is just gonna take you like a few weeks, because they are basically providing the same thing with different names. For example, like in AWS, they call the EC2 instance. In Azure, they call it virtual machine. So things like this, the names are changing, but service is the same. So if you wanna learn Azure, or vice versa, if you wanna learn AWS while you are good at Azure, it's not gonna take you that long. So just focus one of them, and just have idea about the other one. What are the similar names between them? You know what I mean? So it's just gonna take you a few weeks to get used to that platform, and everything is just gonna be fine after that.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer, Sercan. I mean, yeah,
No problem.
that lots of let's say cloud providers, they are, but as far as I know, AWS is the most let's say common one, with more than 35% of the market.
Right.
But Azure is also pretty good, and then I think there's Google also.
Because I've had a friends, GCP, Google Cloud Platform.
Yeah,
I've had a friend who graduated from Clarusway as well at the same time with me, and he never used AWS since he's graduated. So you know what I mean? He works with Azure because the company who hired him, they work with Azure. So, but since he knows AWS, job seekers, the employers will say, "Oh, this guy knows AWS," then he's just going to be able to learn Azure in a second, in just a few weeks. So they already know that, because they are aware of it. There's no perfect candidate. There's always going to be a gap. But again, you need to combine your soft skills with the tech skills, and just give a good presentation to the interviewers.
Okay, so Sercan and Noreen, I'm really thankful to both of you for being here and having this wonderful conversation. Actually, it took even longer than I thought. It was like pretty smooth. So thank you for the answers. Now, I want to say some couple last words about Clarusway, if you guys don't mind, and then I will wait if we have any last questions or things that we want to say. So about Clarusway, as you guys see, it's a boot camp. It's a US-based boot camp. But we also have, let's say, other, let's say, branches in Europe and Turkey. Now, the difference between, or that I would say something very important about Clarusway, is CMS, the career management system. Now, I know that a lot of boot camps teach you the skills and the hard skills or the technical skills, but the thing with Clarusway is that from the very beginning, you are being taught about like the importance of building a resume, and not only about the importance, but at the same time, how to build one, how to search, how to look for a job, and all those kind of things. At the same time, you have mentors, instructors that are with you, let's call it 24/7. This is how we prefer to say it. So yeah, this like, if you guys are interested, here we are sharing our Telegram technology link here. We also have our Slack community. Now, this Slack community, basically, it not only Clarusway students are there, okay? There are people who are interested in technology. Like, there are lots of different posts in different channels. It can be about anything. It can be about finding a job. It can be about, building your, let's say, network. So all those kind of things. You can see all the links there, and if you are interested, click on them. At the same time, there are other links like the registration link, and then we have our meetup and Eventbrite links. So basically, if you want to enjoy more events like this, then these are the links to go for. Noreen and Sercan, if you have any last thing that you want to say, it can be advice, it can be just anything that you want to say, please, I would be pleased to hear.
I wanted to add to Sercan's last answer about boot camps. I think number one, boot camp projects are more related to real life and to being working having experience in a company doing the work. So that's a big benefit. I think that's one of the gaps that a lot of companies are having a hard time with, which is just coming out of school and not having those projects that are related to businesses. So that's a benefit to be participating in a boot camp. And as it relates to the question of like AWS versus Azure, I agree. It sounds like, some different technologies you can learn pretty easily when you're doing a job search. You want to definitely focus on those technologies that you do know. And when you're going through the boot camp, I would recommend really getting to know certain technologies really well so that you feel really solid and that you can use them to add value to a company. That'll help you with your confidence in the interviews, and it will help you with understanding, not just always chasing, because a lot of job seekers, they're chasing the next thing they need to learn, which is amazing because they want to continuously learn. But you should be able to get a job with the skills that you actually have, and diving deep in those and really, doing great projects can help with that.
Right. So, thank you very much, Noreen. One last thing that I want to add is that there's one last link that has been shared is about having a one-on-one interview with our career advisor. So there's a link. If you want to have a one-on-one interview, of course, it is free. You can just click on the link and you can talk to an advisor. Any questions that you may have, they will be answered by them. So I believe that has been all for let's call it for tonight here, and probably this afternoon on your side in the US. Thank you very much. There's nothing else that I want to say. It was really lovely and I enjoyed talking to you guys.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.